Well, hello everybody. Glad to see you. Bhagavad has been teaching me how to give a talk without having any preparation and without any topic. So I'm afraid I have a topic today, and and so I'm going to talk on that the best I can, and it will probably not be all that organized, but I wanted to say some things about leaving home. When the Buddha finally made up his mind that he was going to go leave his family and his inheritance, his luxurious life, and his immense ownership of lands. His father was a very successful land baron who had accumulated a very large estate. And so the Buddha left his wife and child because he wanted to find out what it was that made people so unhappy. He had a happy life. He didn't suffer. He could do anything he wanted, but he noticed that all the people around him, if someone died, he hadn't experienced that. But he saw that when someone died, or when they were very sick or frightened about something, and he felt it in himself, and he wanted to know how to help. His father was completely against it. The astrologer who had been there at the Buddha's birth said that he would be a great, I think he's like a leader of men of one sort. So his father, of course, thought that would have to do with the estate and all of this stuff. And so he was devastated that his child, his beautiful boy, was leaving home. And as we know, he went out and worked with various, tried to learn all this stuff with various yogis, and not necessarily hatha yoga as we know it here, but just those who practice the various disciplines of yoga, and with the idea that they wanted to know everything. They wanted also to be free of suffering. He just never found that until he went on his own. And I was thinking that, it's a very risky thing. If you're not really rich and you've suffered a lot, it's a lot harder to do stuff. But he taught it. I don't know if he actually told practitioners that they should put everything away and come and follow him. I'm not sure that he did that. I don't remember reading that. But many did. They didn't know whether or not they wanted to be monk, and so they became what is called an anagarika. Anagarika is a homeless one, but it means not necessarily that you left the structure that is your house and all this sort of thing, but that you renunciate the things that you identify with as home. You renounce all those things, and and then you go and decide if you want to be a monk or not before you even enter the monastery. And sorry. Yes, the Anagarika. The Anagarika would practice not just the 5 precepts. I mean, obviously they would go and speak to someone to find out what it was that they needed to do. And one of it was that you keep the 8 precepts. 8 precepts. The first 5, which we know, and every time I try and recite them, I forget one. But there's no killing, no no stealing, no lying, no intoxicants, and no sexual misconduct. And to add to those, there was, I don't know if people do that now or not, I don't know, I have to ask. There's one is that you refrain from eating anything before 12 noon, or after, you refrain from eating after at 12 noon, which is why lunch is here is at, 11:30. That's, so you won't be eating after noon. You refrain from entertainment. And so for an American doing this means practically boarding yourself up and throwing away your cell phone. And it's pretty serious to go without entertainment, because all media are focused on entertaining you, whether it's with horror stories or with, fun things to do or whatever. And that includes going out, getting dressed up, going out, obviously not drinking, but no dancing, no carousing, no singing, no, all the things that we wanted to do as teenagers. I hope that we would be invited to do, to go out and do all these things. And you can't do those. So, and it's a very good thing. And it also has to do with, wearing cosmetics, making yourself more, making yourself up, making yourself into something else. And then the last one I find very interesting, which is the size of the furniture that you use. So, for example, you can have a high bed off the floor. Now, this is, of course, in a place like Thailand where the floors are not cold, right? So you can sleep on the floor without being cold. When you come here or to England or someplace like that, the floors are cold, so people have beds that are off the floor, and the dogs sleep under of course, at my house, the dogs always sleep under the bed, so there's room for everybody. But you don't want to have, one of the examples also is like having a big fancy chair that you sit in, so that you won't appear to be someone who is rich and indulges himself or herself. And so that's, no pretty necklaces and no earrings. And so so you have to live a life that is, stripped of all of these things that are sort of, we identify in some way, or we own it in some way, and it makes us feel very attached to ourselves. And how do I look? I was thinking of the Democrats now who are saying, we have to improve our image as Democrats. Nobody's going to vote for us anymore because whatever, I can't even think. So we have to work on our image. And I think that is so very funny. And of course it means that nobody will ever vote for you, because nobody wants somebody who's constantly checking your, trying to come up with things to do in the world that will make it better, but you're always checking your lipstick in the car mirror, I mean, that's how I really see this. And I think it's very, very helpful to know that this is not the way to live. Your image is not important. You shouldn't even have an image. And so they're asking something. They're asking something in order to be a monk. It's like you wanted a refuge from ordinary life, or from an unhappy marriage, or from whatever your situation is. But it's not a refuge in a sense, because you have to renounce so much of yourself. You can't be just, the guy who's lights up and lying in the bathtub. I remember seeing in a movie some woman smoking a cigarette while she lay in the bathtub with water all around, and that's one of the things that stays in my mind. So if you can manage to keep the 8 precepts and you don't just give it up and go home, then you can apply. I don't know how they call it but you apply to be a novice, I don't know how many stages there are, but you apply to be taken in, and you can and learn to be and to practice, and then eventually you become a novice, and then I guess you are ordained. And why am I talking about this? And it's really not that. It's that I have become so aware of the world in which there are so many people, millions of people who do not have a home that they can leave. There is no home. There is no building left. There is no food. There are no clothing. There is no one who helps you, except other people who are equally bereft. You look at the pictures of Gaza and the bodies lying in the dirt, and there's nowhere to go. So there's nowhere to go. And I understand that in Syria, there's some of this too, and in Sudan, and you see people leaving. I mean, these great convoys of people leaving to go somewhere where they could put up a tent, because they can't even do that in where they're coming from. They need to go to someplace where there's food. And it's all over the world. It's not just in the Middle East, and it's not just in Africa, and now it's in the United States. We have a scourge of homelessness in this country. There's no housing. It's too expensive. And when you are homeless, people, they might as well spit at you, because that's how you are treated. But even if you go to get help, someone told me about a homeless woman who applied for some sort of help, and for some reason, like her age or how much Social Security she gets or whatever, she was too wealthy to fit into this program, and the woman was upset about it, but the official that she'd been talking to said to her colleague, she thinks she's entitled to a free house, a free bed, and I just see that suffering so greatly, and I understand why people, say things that are really very hurtful, such as, if only he had made better choices, he wouldn't be homeless, or that type of thing. And I sort of, I'm so horrified by it, but then I also understand how very hard it is to help someone who is homeless when there is really no place for them to go, where you don't have a bed for them, where you don't have a kitchen where people can go and eat, where you don't have those things, and you're trying desperately to help these people. And your frustration and shame about not being able to help makes you kind of mad, and you start taking it out on the people who are annoying you because they need a home, or they need a meal, or they need something. I've heard people say the most terrible things. And I've seen many, many people buy food for people and help them at the best they can. And to me, it's just like, who can live like this? And who can turn their face away from this? There's other homelessness, and some of them are the ones that are voluntary, like where you leave home not because you can't live there anymore, but because you need something else. You need something that's different. And I'm thinking of, in medieval Germany and France, there were women called the beguines, and they left home to go work in hospitals and to volunteer. They slept on the floor in the hospital after they had been helping people all day. They had a little place where they kept their little beds, their little few things that they had, and they had prayer services as well as they tried to heal people. And in order to do that, they had to leave home. So they left. Mostly they were women whose children had grown up or who had died, so they were free to do that. But they left any comforts that they had for some, and they did this. And some of the women actually stayed at home, but lived that life. They left ordinary life, which involved, eating well, being comfortable, sleeping well, having friends, chattering at the market, with their acquaintances. I guess just what I want to say is that it breaks my heart. And knowing that I'm helpless to do anything except the most superficial things. This is what, we talk about suffering and the end to suffering. These are the things that come to me, not for myself. And it seems to me that there's this world of pain out there, and when your own country causes a lot of that, you feel pretty bad. Because what can I do? Nothing. I can't do anything. I can get arrested by ICE and then return home because, the vast number of immigrants, of migrants, they're now calling people, who come to the United States, and they come to Canada, and they now also go to Mexico and other places where because they have nowhere to go. You cannot return home to a place where you have been driven away by gangs or by the military, and then they've burnt your house down and done all these things. That's why people come here. Then because they need a place to live where that's not going to happen to them. I would try to explain this to somebody I know. She says, well, they don't want to be treated like that. They should stay in their own country. And it's like there's nothing to be said. And so I think about these things, and I feel very, very safe and secure in my practice, which is the only thing I can turn to when I really feel the pain of homelessness, which I have experienced like secondhand. I mean, I know homeless people. They're remarkable. They don't fit the stereotype. And I still have a few more minutes. I didn't really they always say your home is a place inside of yourself. And I find that to be utterly true. But I don't know how to help someone find that place in themselves, and I wonder if that is enough. I can teach people how to do the meditation. I can talk about the Buddha a little bit. I can equate him to Jesus, who has many of the same things. Talking to people about, the worth of a person. And I do feel heartbroken. I would like to say, oh, now it's all glorious, because, I have my practice and I've seen many things that are filled with light and it's so beautiful. But that's nothing. It's sort of nothing. And what is something is to be able to reach out to someone and give them something helpful, and to love them, and to see their worthiness in the world, so that when they are forced to leave home, they know there's a place to go in themselves for that, in spite of all the things that people say and do to you when you're homeless, that you have that. If I can help with that, then I guess maybe my broken heart will feel a little bit better. So that is my talk. I have nothing further to say. I want to be able to say how wonderful everything is because of Buddhism, but Buddhism exists because of all the stuff I'm talking about. It came into being because people were homeless, and there was someone who wanted to help. I think the thing that I just want to say is that the homeless people that I know or have known are all the most extraordinary people. They're so resourceful and even creative in what they can do with nothing. It's not something that you know that's going to have an end, like a hospital stay, or it's something that your chances of getting out of it are very poor, and that you will probably live a lot shorter life than you would have otherwise. I feel like I'm driving people away. But anyway, I just wanted to point them out, that these people can be so wonderful if you can just see past what is presented to you. So that's my talk. Thank you very much for being polite and listening to it. I invite anybody who has anything to say or about it or anything else. It would be very nice if you did. I always look at Frank because I know he'll have something to say about something. But if anyone else that has anything, Nancy.
Well, when I go out to Salt Lake City, and this is a city where you don't see a piece of trash on the sidewalk. It's a very clean, it's very Mormon dominated and very family oriented and all this. But there are a lot of homeless people. A huge homeless population. I'm right at the edge of my daughter's middle class, nice little family neighborhood. There are homeless people up at the parking lot of the supermarket and all, asking for donations or whatever. But there's a perception, and it's what might prevent people from giving more help, but not necessarily a true perception. I think they even said sometimes on KSL radio there, be careful helping these people, because some of them don't give them money, give them food or a certificate to go to a restaurant or something, because it's interwoven with the drug problems. Mm-hmm. So people are afraid to give them money, and it's going to go to drugs and make things worse. But it's one night we were coming back, we'd been out of town, and it was sleeting really badly. The streets were full of sleet, and as we came into the neighborhood, into this little shopping center thing that's right at the edge of the neighborhood, there was a man in a wheelchair, a homeless man in a wheelchair, sitting out in the sleet. And it was evening, it was turning dark. So my son-in-law said, well, I'll drop you off, and then he was going to go back. By the time he went back to see about this person, someone had come out of what's like a coffee shop thing and taken him in to the shop. But I mean, it's a huge problem. And I think, again, there's a perception, give soap, give maybe some Tylenol, give shampoo, or a food certificate, but don't give money because they're afraid that it's going to be these are people who might be drug in that condition because they have a drug problem. So I don't know. I mean, it's complex and they're aware. On the other hand, there are people individually doing good things. I met a woman at the dog park who was a wound care specialist a number of years ago, quite a few years ago now. And she would go under bridges and things where homeless people were and tend to them, to their wounds, to their...
And they have foot problems and wounds and stuff like that, so.
Yeah. But on an individual basis, there are people trying to do, and even caring people who want to help these. And again, how much good does a little shampoo or something do you? Probably not much, but anyway, it's complex. If you, I don't know.
Well, there's always this thing about, a sort of structure that says this is the way things should be. And then there's reality, and we get caught in that.
Well, there's a perception that there's help out there. Why aren't they going to those soup kitchens? Why aren't they going where there's help? At least in Salt Lake City, there is. I don't know what there is here. Well, I know there's a soup kitchen up in Denver. But there's a perception, there's help. So these people who are out there panhandling at the edge of the neighborhood maybe don't really need it, but who knows? I mean,
yes, well, that's the thing. That's the thing. And to be able to navigate that for yourself, to say, well, I'm going to do this anyway, or there's a woman in, it's not always the same person, in Bethel, and there's a big sign that says, and it's beautifully printed, and it looks like it's a professional job, and it enumerates the things that she doesn't have, and that she needs for her family or something like that. And, I'm sort of repelled by it and sort of ashamed of myself because I don't believe it doesn't look real to me when I've seen people who are really in dire straits, But the fact is I don't know. And I let myself say, well, she always has it right here when the traffic is moving and you're going to have to make your left or your right, and you can't stop and get out and read the thing and talk. But it's and it looks like it's been staged by something, but I don't know.
People are afraid of them too, because sometimes because there's a perception, some of it may be based in truth, that many of these people have mental problems.
Oh,
I know my daughter's not comfortable with the children walking up through this plaza by themselves because homeless people. So they're afraid of them too.
Yes, I know. And so
that the feeling of powerlessness is preceded by, a lot of judgment.
Yes.
You're saying, oh, I don't want to be seeing my vulnerability. I don't want to, I've made better choices, or I don't want to see how bad luck can find me, or judgments about mental problems, which is all our lot, and drug problems, which is I think also not exceptional.
Close to home.
We don't want to see dying people. We don't want to see people who are ill. We don't want to see people who are in distress, because it reminds us of something that we are protecting ourselves from seeing.
Yes.
And I don't think that there is a solution to people dying, but I do think that there is a wall that we put up that's really good to. I don't agree with you when you say, "Oh, there's nothing I can do." I think that seeing that we are all human and seeing that one other person's suffering is like our suffering, I think helps open a bridge and say, "Okay, well, we are human. We are human. We are. This is a shared experience."
Yes.
But alienating and saying, "Oh, I put a label on that," or "I don't want to see that," is
It's denying.
it's just a lie.
It's denying that there is suffering. It's a denial of there is suffering.
And the opposite of that is the billionaire who, can't get enough.
Yeah.
We're like that billionaire who can't get enough. We're just putting up
we
more
know
protections all the time.
Yeah.
So yes, suffering is suffering is suffering is suffering, and it's there, and it's a reality of our lives.
But I think it's absolutely right. But the Buddha's first words are there is suffering, and when we deny that by saying, well, it's just them, or that's not, they don't have to be like that, if they only made better choices, or all that stuff. And so I just know, and I'm thinking of someone in particular who is saying, well, they shouldn't come to our country then if they don't want to be treated like garbage. They shouldn't come to our country because she really doesn't know that kind of something. She doesn't know about it. I mean, how you wouldn't know about it, I don't know.
Well, there's always a they, right? Them.
Well, it's them, so they don't. So it doesn't matter what happens to them.
Yeah, or our separating ourselves from others, saying, "Oh, that's you," is I think the cause of all our suffering.
Yeah.
And we are completely isolated and insulated and are running around with festering wounds that we try to cover up with sex, drugs, rock and roll, anything that comes our way to look away from this big festering bandage called ego and self and me. But you are different. I think that to just recognize the humanity of, well, the living spirit of everything is what we can do. And so, compassion is not just the imagination of, oh, I feel so bad for you, but it's also, I don't know, saying hello. It's also, I do have something. I'm connected. I can, we're in this together.
That's I guess that's a hard one to make that alive, to make that happen, to make that real. Yeah.
But it's not up to other people.
No, that's right. That's the thing.
I met someone for really the first time got to know a homeless person, and I had no idea they were homeless. I was having these most intelligent conversations about books, about music, all these different things. Like really, And I had no idea. I thought, she was a little quirky, but I had no idea she was homeless. And so she asked me if I could give her a ride to the train station, and I said, sure. And I go to bring her bag into the car, and it was really heavy. And I said, you got to figure out how to, go lighter in what you're doing. This is a really heavy bag. And she said to me, that's everything I own. And so I didn't know what to say, so I didn't really say, because I didn't want her to feel in any way less than. So she gets in the car, and she told me when I said it to her that she was homeless. And I was like, really taken back. And I said to her, as her daughter, I said, if you don't mind me asking, you don't have to tell me, but why are you homeless? She said, well, I was taking care of my mother. We shared an apartment together. And she died, and I couldn't afford the rent anymore. And she was old, collecting Social Security of like $1,040 a month. And she had nowhere to go, so she's been homeless and so resourceful. She goes into New York. She stays up all night. She talked to me like it was matter of fact, not like she felt bad about herself. It's just like a matter of fact way of life. And she spends the day sleeping in nice churches. She says sometimes there's nice churches she can go to sleep in, and she stays up at night. And I was just blown away. I came back home, and I was just like, oh, and she didn't in any way make it sound like it was the thing. It was just, that's how her life is. And so I think there's so many people that are one paycheck from being homeless. Literally one paycheck. So you live paycheck to paycheck, and that's all.
Her situation with having taken care of the parents when they died, and the apartment was too expensive. It is a huge issue for women who are the ones who usually stay and take care of the parent. There's actually some sort of organization in New York City, I think, that tries to. It's unsuccessful, let's face it, because they don't really manage to do this, but try to match people with another person so they can have some sort of place to live. But so many of them have exactly that thing. I was taking care of my father, and he died, and and I didn't have enough money, and that's it, I think it is wonderful. I mean, that's why I say, they can be so wonderful, the people that we meet. Even some of them who are like really kind of wonky. I mean, they're just sort of giving all up on everything, but they have such interesting things to say. And they're very, very open-hearted, because what else have you got? They're very open-hearted to receiving or to telling you their story or to doing these things. And we're all tight-lipped about our lives unless we know the person or know the group and why we're there. But I just find it sometimes to sit down next to somebody. And sometimes it's on the subway in New York, which I don't go to. I don't go to New York anymore, but I mean, he's sitting next to somebody, and then you sort of realize that they're a homeless person riding the subway. That's what they do until the the security comes and tries to find some place for them to stay. But they ride the subways at night. They ride them in the day. Once you're in the subway system, you don't have to pay anymore. You only need one ticket.
So the other thing I think is it's so such a big problem about it is it's like you could say, oh, I'm gonna go around to all my neighbors and I'm gonna ask for a contribution because I want to help this person or something. But there is no end to it. It's like nothing,
Nothing does it.
it's not gonna be a one-time fix. Even I'm gonna give you $500, even if it's $5,000, but it's not gonna be enough. They don't see any end, so then to give up, if there is no, I don't know the answer, but except that organizations have to provide jobs, have to do something to give a path out.
I don't think
Otherwise,
there is a
there's no
path out. There's no path out until there's cheap housing.
So what?
Until there's cheap housing. There's
Cheap housing.
I mean,
Mm.
yeah. Well,
Wow.
I think for me, to do one thing for someone is then they're so happy that they are seen, that someone cares about them. Even if you're never going to see them again, you don't know what's going to happen. They're very happy. It makes them happy, or makes one night easier for them. So that's how they live, night by night, or meal by meal. So that's how I approach it. And it's still endless. It still doesn't do the job. What are you going to do? So I want to talk about this not because I have solutions or any idea, but it's that we have to look inside of ourselves, and it's a great opportunity, to see how we get angry about it, or how you want to disparage that person because you can't help them. How somehow that not being able to help them makes you mad, and so then you take it out on them, or you take it out on them. Like I said. I've just noticed that. But I don't have anything more to say. So thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Lisa.
What you tell the story today? Yeah. So it's like we use the part to practice ourselves. Whatever we experience, some unfavorable condition like the homeless condition. So we just reflect ourselves what we're gonna react, what we're gonna make that is not changing inside us.
Where is my heart right now? That kind of thing.
Yeah, because let's stay with awareness.
Yeah.
So it's gonna come back. So we cannot help everyone.
That's right.
Yeah, we do the best that we can do, and we look inside.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you still have a negative feeling that you cannot help, that you have to come back. So whatever is not good condition, so just look inside. Yeah. So this kind of problem, it's gonna continue. It's not gonna end. So we do what we can do.
Yeah.
At least our mind is equanimity.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the
biggie. That's the good one.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, thanks everybody. It's a good day. I think I'm afraid to get up because I'm going to knock something over.
Yeah.
Microphone up there.
Oh yeah, I think